Hey guys. Yeah, I don't know why, but the chat is not working for me. And it looks like I'm getting picked up on two mics, so hold on. I'm gonna have to play around with that chat bot. For some reason, it does not appear to be working. I've been playing around with it, trying to get it to work, but I think it's because I'm multi-streaming to 3 different platforms. So it doesn't like one of them or something, I'm not sure. But today we're going to be building a order for Ariana, not my sister. But they purchased the Crusader, so we're going to go ahead and get the Crusader built for them today. If you're curious about the build specs, let me know, and I'll make sure I tell you them. But we're going to be building with the B550M AC motherboard by AS Rock. Had to clear my throat. Alright. We're going to be rocking the Ryzen 5 3600. It's got 6 cores, 12 threads, has a max boost up to 4.2 gigahertz. It's a little bit of a beast. Beautiful to start with if you're interested in gaming, or if you want to even try to start a stream. Got my tools everywhere right now. But if you want to start a stream, you can actually do this with the Ryzen 5 3600. Although I generally try to push people to get the Ryzen 7 if they're going to do a stream, because it's just a few more bucks and you get a little bit more horsepower, especially for streams today. It's a big boost. So yeah, Ryzen 5 3600. That is what is going in this bad boy today. If you're interested in purchasing this particular build, we do sell them on our website. So take a look at the Crusader on our website. Just having a little bit of a struggle lining those up. No big deal. Actually, we're going to pop this bad boy off right now. Mr. Max had to come over here and inspect one of the boxes, make sure it was safe. He is our security here at Empower Gaming Computers. Anyways, make sure everybody here is safe. And any equipment coming in is secure, safe, and isn't going to cause any trouble. takes good care of us. Mr. Max is our puppy. The RAM we're working with today is Oloy Warhawk series, so it's RGB, and it is two 8 gig sticks, so a total of 16 gigabytes at CL16, and it is 3200 megahertz. So beautiful performance with the pair with the Ryzen 5 3600. So we'll have some good performance out of these sticks with the CPU. And then the solid state drive that we're working with today is by Silicon Power. It is a 1 terabyte NVMe PCIe. It's Gen 3, but it's 1 terabytes of pretty quick storage, so you should definitely have a very good experience with boot times, load times, anything that requires storage to load up. It'll be snappy for them. Not the latest and greatest, but it is definitely, nobody just saw that, definitely a lot better than a SATA drive, and much better than a hard drive. So still one of the probably top 3 drives I would use. So I'm going to just plug that into the PCIe slot, M.2 slot, and then get the little screw that comes with the motherboard and secure the SSD so it's not going anywhere. There we are. And now we're going to get the cooler on here. Probably going to go through this build pretty quickly once we get a lot of questions. Don't see a lot of viewers right now. So it is a nice day out there today, so I don't really anticipate having too many people watching. But I did want to jump on and record this build because I'm planning to make this a high-speed build video so that I can upload it to the website and attach it to the Crusader on the website. So you can literally just watch the YouTube video of how it gets built in the future on the website. I think that would be a cool feature. But this is an addressable RGB 4 heat pipe, copper heat pipe cooler. It's all black, which makes it look cool. I like cool, but it's got some RGB here at the top, so this will light up. That's this cable over here that you see, which we will be running to the back side of the case, connected to the fan, which is a 120 millimeter fan with also addressable RGB on the fan. You got your PWM connector right here, and then our 5-volt addressable RGB with the connection for the actual heatsink right here. So that's how it splits and connects. But this is the ID cooling RGB cooler. It's a nice cooler. It's about $45, and for $45 an addressable RGB cooler, it does a pretty damn good job cooling and looks pretty damn cool. I like the look of it, and build quality feels great, so I have no complaints. In the packaging, since we're going to do a quick review of that real quick. I don't think I've reviewed one of these before. But you got thermal paste that I'll just throw around. It's ID Cooling branded thermal paste. It's the TG25. Probably not end up using that, but just because I'm a thermal grizzly addict. Then you got these clips for the fans. You can mount up to 2 fans, one on the front, one on the back of this heatsink. Although only 1 fan came with it, they give you the clips for an additional fan if you want to add a fan, which is kind of nice. So if you want to stack it up, you can. You have push-pull right on your air cooler. It's nice. In those Intel builds, you have a bracket with pegs on it already, so you just stick it on the back of the motherboard, screw it down. So this is LGA 15 X, whatever you want to call it, or LGA 1200. And then you've got a bag of screws with the spacers needed to do the installation. A little sticker that you could put on your case for ID Cooling logo. And it looks like maybe tier 4, which would be the Threadripper socket pegs, and then the brackets both for LGA and for AM4. But we are using AM4 today with the AMD Ryzen 5. So that is what we're going to be utilizing here. Built with these a few times, so I'm pretty familiar. Don't need to look at the instructions anymore. Maybe. Shouldn't have to. Won't need these with AM4 because these pegs are going to sit on this back plate from the stock brackets. Then we're going to place these arms like so with a screw through them through the top, and that's going to screw right into the back plate, so it's nice and easy. Actually, a little longer screwdriver for this one. Just got to line it up. It is a little bit tricky to get it started, but once you get it started, it makes sense, and it's easy. I'm going to do all 4. And I usually make these pretty snug. I don't want to try to over tighten it, but you do want it pretty tight. You might see your board warp a little bit while you're doing this. That's fine as long as it's not a crazy warp. Just don't kill the board. Just a slight warp is, or barely any, is what you want for tightness on this. But they're getting better with their designs to keep the warp down on the board, but you can see the sides. If you're here, it is kind of slightly lifting them up, so that's about where I want to be. And now for the thermal paste, we're going to use Thermal Grizzly, which I left over here. Left it over there on the other bench for the other build last night. And you don't really need a whole lot of this stuff. It's pretty good. So I'll usually do a light X and then wipe the tip off on the empty space there. And that does a pretty damn good job of spreading. And then for this guy, we're going to mount. Let me center this up a little bit here. We're going to mount this. It's got 2 screws already on here. They're latched on. You really can't remove them, so they're there. But we're going to line it up with the studs that are right here on the board, or on these brackets already. I should have mentioned these brackets or these studs need to be facing up so that these nuts can line up and lock on. So you're going to want to also make sure you peel off the thing on the bottom, which I already did. But we're going to get down low, line it up, not do what I just did, if you can avoid it. There we are. Looks nice and centered on the CPU. And then I'm going to use a taller screwdriver so I can get in there. And just start one side. Just start it. Don't actually tighten this bad boy down. We're just going to start it. And then you get the other side started. And away we go. And then we're going to do a couple of threads each side so that we're evenly applying pressure to the CPU socket. There we go. So I'll show you when I say, if you look down on this, you'll see there's a right way to put this cooler, and then there's a wrong way. You can see here the copper or the pipes are slanted this way, and that's to kind of get the bottom of the cooler centered on the CPU. But then we're gonna shift the actual cooler over, so now you can have a fan right here on this side without interfering with your RAM slots. So it's important to make sure you're installing these, and that goes for pretty much any cooler you're putting in there. Pay attention to that, because if I did it upside down and backwards, this whole thing would be shifted closer to my RAM, and then you'd lose a slot, or you wouldn't be able to access it, or you wouldn't be able to put the fan there. So keep that in mind when you're putting this in. But this would be the right orientation, being the top of the computer up here. You'll see this for this particular cooler. You'll see this graphic here facing the back of the computer. This would be the back. Alright, now we have the fan. So first thing I'm going to do is get these clips on here so we can secure the fan on the tower cooler. And those just go in right here through the hole, and they're ready. I always make sure the cables are facing down, so like so. And then the other side, unless you drop it like me. Sometimes these gloves are helpful, sometimes they are not. Right now they are not very helpful. There we go. And on the other side, pop it on. There we go. So now we got two on there. Cables are facing down, but we do have this little addressable RGB connector for the cooler itself that we want to deal with. So I'm going to set this down right here while I do this. And can only go on one way. It's slotted. Can't really mess it up. And then I'm going to make sure the cables are down underneath the fan the best I can, tucked under the cooler the best I can as I'm putting this on. And this is to ensure the fans stay out of the way. And then you want the fan kind of level with the top or close to it. And then you pull it. You pull these little clips along the side of the cooler, and they clip on. So like that. They just clip right onto the cooler there, and we're good. And it keeps the wires out of the way we did that. So when you're looking down in that slot, you don't see any wires down there in the way of that RAM. You got a full slot right there that you have full access to, even with the fan on. So it's nice and clean. There we go. And then these two cables are ready to be plugged in. So I'm going to do the PWM fan right now, CPU fan, which goes to the CPU header. On this motherboard, it's right here at the top. right next to the RAM. And then our RGB, we actually have one here. So I'm probably going to go to the back of the case, through the top, and then back around and plug in, so that we don't have a cable looking like this. Obviously, that would look like shit. So, we're not going to do that. We've got this motherboard pretty much loaded up to the best of our ability. Now we're going to move on to our case, our power supply extensions, and get the motherboard loaded in there or installed. Just unpacking the case here. It was still packed. Here she is. This is the Crusader by Biuild. It's a good budget case to start with. It's got a good size. It's a full ATX, or not a full, but a mid ATX tower. And it's got tempered glass. Side panel here. It is shaded, or what's the right term for it? It's got a tint, slight tint to the glass. It's got a front mesh, so overall quality of the case is nice. It has some nice features, and I already see a problem. And that's not a good problem at all. See if I can get this squared. Sometimes these things get shipped and they get beat to shit. This is not the first time this has happened. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be to the point where that's not repairable. I'll never get that square again. So, what do we do here? Do I have another one? Hold, please. I don't have another one of these cases in stock, which is a problem, because I really don't want to do the build in here. Let me see what I can do with it. I actually just ordered another couple more because I needed them. This is what you just heard me print. Let's see what we can do about getting this square for now, just to complete the build, and I will move it to a new case because I don't like that at all. I'm going to put us on pause. I'm going to take this out to the garage and see if I can use a couple of tools to pop this bend out. Alright guys, so a little bit change up here. This case, as you can see, was damaged in shipping. Box didn't have any damage, so I have no idea how this got damaged. So we're going to change it up. We're not going to finish this build today. Unfortunately, it's going to be delayed. I don't have another one of these cases. Normally I do have these cases in stock, but I don't have one of these in stock. So I'm going to have to get another one shipped here, which is already on its way. And we're going to do a different build. So I just don't feel right putting it in this case and then having to swap all the parts again. Just for the stream. I've got a couple more builds I have to do anyway, so we're just going to go and do another build. That is what we are going to do. So just give me a moment. I got to clean up this workspace, get these parts moved, and get a new build over here. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Bear with me. We were doing so good with this build too. We're making some pretty good timing. But shit happens. All right. So. This one's pretty good. This is Z490 A Pro by MSI. It's one of their Pro Series motherboards with an Intel i7. This is the i7 10700KF LGA 1200 CPU. Now I had to open these to test another build, but this is RGB Alloy, same RAM. Warhawk, and it's got the it's 3200 megahertz CL16 and a 1 terabyte T-Force Team Group SSD, which again I had to open it to test another rig. We've got some three CF120s by Deepcool. These are PWM addressable RGB fans. Very nice to work with for the budget. Got a nice PCIe wireless card, and we're going to liquid cool the CPU with once again Deepcool. Guess we can't see it there. Maybe right there. There we go. This is their Captain 240 Pro, which is addressable RGB pump, addressable RGB fans, and those are 120 millimeters on a 240 millimeter AIO radiator. Then we have an 850 watt gold. This is semi-modular power supply. And we're going to go with the Power Color Fighter Radeon RX 6700 XT. This is all going to be built inside a Leon Lee Landcool 205 case. I believe we went with black. Yes, it is black. So, a little bit of a change up here, sorry. But didn't really have a choice with that case kind of screwing me here. Normally I have everything open up and I'll check it before the stream, but I didn't have a lot of time today. So, bear with me. We'll get a build though. We'll get a build on the stream done. So we're going to go ahead and start with the MSI Z490 motherboard. Now we're a little bit behind schedule too, which kind of sucks, but it's okay. Not the end of the world. We'll survive. And thanks for the subscription, or Serious Steely, Serious for subscribing over on YouTube. I appreciate that. Sorry I wasn't here when you subscribed. I just noticed the alert right there. Thank you. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and like and share the stream, because the more likes and shares I get, the more streams I'll be able to do, because it just shows the value. But let's get some gloves on before I start touching. Alrighty. So this is a complete different socket that we're going to be working with, LGA 1200, instead of the AM4 that we were just building with. But AMD is now moving over to the LGA socket, if you haven't heard. They announced that. So their next series is going to be LGA, which means there's going to be pins on the motherboard, and poor old AM4 is going to be done for. No more. How exciting. I actually, I prefer, believe it or not, pins to be on the CPU, not the motherboard, because I feel like it is a lot easier to repair the pins on a CPU than it is to repair the pins on a motherboard if you are to damage them. it's almost impossible to repair pins on a motherboard. It's not completely impossible. You can do it, but it is a big pain in the ass, let me tell you. And your success rate is probably slim to none, or very slim. So just want to read on the board real quick. I think we're going to do up here. It's my luck that that case was damaged. I haven't had one in a while. I knew I was due for one on that other build that we started, Crusader. And of course it's the time that I don't have one here, an extra one. So I almost always have that case here. But I had some extra parts from an upgrade, and I ended up throwing it in a case that I had here in stock, which is the Crusader case. And that just left yesterday, so unfortunately I got caught without a case. And it happens. Alright, there we are. We got the RAM, we got the SSD, and the CPU installed. Now we're going to probably grab this pump, or AIO should I say. Oh, we just snagged this. Dang it. So AIO and get the brackets out so that we can get the brackets in the socket, make it easier after we get it in the case to mount this bad boy. I like to try to do as much as I can on the motherboard before we even put that motherboard in there. Hold on, my dog's eating styrofoam. Sometimes it's not the brightest dog. All better. He did not eat it. He likes to chew on it because it feels funny, I'm assuming. But he has been saved. Set the AIO out of the way here, because we're not quite ready for it. And GA is going to be this guy. No, that's 84, sorry. I'll flip it around and do this one. So, if you're going to do the Captain 240 Pro or 240 Pro, this is going to be your LGA spot where you're going to put this peg on the back plate. and you just line it up, push it through, and it holds the pegs in place, like so, and they don't come out. Very easy. And you have all sockets on this back plate. You got AM4, LGA. I think the only one it doesn't have is Tier 4, which is your Threadripper. Alright. Now that we got the pegs lined up on the holes, we're going to just put it through the motherboard. Just don't want that back there. So we're going to put it through the motherboard here. Lines up perfectly. Then we're going to set the motherboard down on it so we can finish up the rest. Then you got these little standoffs which screw on those pegs. You'll notice one side has a little piece of plastic, the other side is bare metal. Make sure you put the plastic down on the motherboard. You're going to use 4 of those. That way it's not grounding out anything on the motherboard or scratching the board up when you tighten it. Keeps your parts nice. A little cushion. A little bit of a cushion. That's all. Alright, then the bags come nicely labeled. We're not working with A&D, so the hell with that. And we're going to be using these Intel brackets. We don't need these pegs, those are for a different socket. We just need the brackets. And we're going to be working with these nuts. No pun intended. Now one thing I do want to reference in the manual really quick, I have done these before, but you'll see that there's a little elbow, and there's also 2 different sizes. I just want to double check which direction they're supposed to face before I assume and then have to backtrack. Alright. Interesting. Okay, so they want these up and down. I've done it both ways before. Never had a problem with this. So that makes the pump and the white cables on the side rather than the top and the bottom, which I guess I'm okay with. I do like this design, because again it makes it nice and easy. You've got the whole bracket assembly on the board already ready to go, so then all you got to do is put it in the case, mount your AIO, and then thermal paste, and it's 2 screws and it's done. It's easy, very easy to do. Makes 100% complete sense while you're doing it, and it's not a big pain in the ass. Alright, moving on to the case. To the case. So we got our SSD, our RAM, our CPU, our AIO bracket, all on the motherboard. There's nothing else I can mount to that motherboard. So we're going to move on to the case, get the AIO mounted, fans mounted, fans then the AIO, and then we're going to get the motherboard in there. And again, this is the Lian Li Landcool 205. Nice premium case. Build quality from Lian Li is always always 100%. I don't think I've ever had a case show up broken, scratched, or have any type of imperfection. Not once. Pretty impressive. Their packaging is superb. The build quality is superb. Leon Lee is the beautiful case. They are creating new standards. And that is unfortunate for everybody else. It does come with 2 PWM fans, 120 millimeter, but we are not going to be using these in this build. So we are yanking them and replacing them with addressable RGB 120 millimeter fans. I'm just going to yank these, put it in the box of fans. The box. So I got a big box of fans here. I very rarely use the fans that come in the case unless it's like, you know, specific to the build, such as the Crusader. But everything else that is not RGB pretty much gets yanked out unless it's a blackout case build. And I don't get very many of those requests. Everybody wants the disco party in a box because it looks cool. It's fun. Everybody likes a little fun. We got that packaging out, the screws out, got that back fan out. Now we gotta get the front fan out. Pull the front panel off. Beautiful thing about this case, I know you can't see it, but I'll show you. This front panel right here, this comes off, and the entire front panel, the power button, the audio, the USB is separate. It's a really nice feature because cases that are mounted to the front panel makes it a big pain in the ass with all these cables getting yanked on right here. So it becomes a pain in the ass. So whoever thought of that was a genius. Whoop. Everything's okay. And then this particular case has a nice panel for the fans. So you gotta undo these 3 screws to pull the panel, which just lifts up and down from a couple of pegs, and then it comes out, and then you got this nice panel. And then I'm going to undo the fan, or unscrew the fan here with the 4 screws, so we can mount our new screws, new fans. I think I need caffeine. Deep Cool CF120. They also have CF120 Plus, which has a little bit of a extra RGB look to it, kind of like a stripe. This is like a full RGB effect, which is going to match well with the cooler and cut cost on having individual fan expense. So we are just going to roll with these with the AIO. It'll look nice. Just reorganizing some of these screws here so they don't get lost. Comes with a PWM hub, which supports up to 4 fans. You got your RGB hub, which is adjustable RGB, so it's 5 volt, 3-pin 5 volt, and then you got a manual controller, which will plug into the hub instead of the 5 volt, 3-pin 5 volt. If you don't have a motherboard connection to synchronize it, but in this case we do. So that is the option that we will be using. The motherboard. So I'm going to go ahead and get these twist ties off these fans. And excuse me. So it's going to go back into the case like so. So we want the fans to go off, or the wires to go off to the side, and line it up the best we can here using the 120 millimeter lines here. Apparently the screw is just jacked up. We're not going to use it. jacked up screw. If anybody sees my mistake, point it out, because I see it. So right now I got the fans in the wrong direction. I don't know why I did that. I need a Mountain Dew or something. Something with caffeine, desperately. So now I gotta undo these fans and redo them. It's not right. I always look and think about that stuff. Be right back. Need a Mountain Dew. Or Coke. Yeah, Coke. Didn't get to finish my coffee this morning, so I'm a little bit behind. Nice Coke. Oh, I love redoing things. It's my most favorite thing ever. I feel like this build stream is just cursed today. Nothing has gone right. I should have caught this. But, too busy sitting here thinking about that other case. Screwing me in that build. And the fact that I didn't have another one. It's like getting caught with your pants down. So that's going to blow air out the front. This one's going to blow air in the front, so we're going to have to rotate that one too, but just giving you a explanation as to why I'm rotating it, because the front has to be intake for this build. And I mounted the fans wrong. Didn't catch it until I was mounting it in the case. Derp. It's one of those derp moments where you do this all the time. And how did you miss that? It's kind of, you know. Oops. It's okay, it won't take me too long to fix this. I'm fixing it right now. Only got one more fan to fix. And we're good. Dirt, 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 dirt. Metal on these screws kind of suck. These are the Leon Lee screws that I was using. Just the slightest slip of your screwdriver screws it. Hey. Okay, now that's the right way, because this is the way. Let's try this again. Stuff the cables through the thing. Maybe. Fit. RGB cable always fits like a charm, but the PWM is always giving me trouble. Alright. And that's slid in there. We're just gonna lock this bracket in with 3 screws. Fans are facing the right way. Thank God. Get this turned around so it's not like twisted. And then we could do one of these. Tie this a little tighter so it's not interrupting with our airflow going forward. Looks cleaner up here. It was all twisted. And we can put our front panel back on. Normally I don't put a panel on with the case this way, but just so you guys can see it. Snap into place. And we're going to work on the top here. We got on the very top a screw right here, and that is going to allow the tray right here to come out. But before we do that, I am going to get this rear fan mounted, I think, right here. Gotta undo the twist ties on this fan. And don't worry, I will mount it the right direction so we don't have to do it twice, because that's silly. Try to put this as low as possible. So so I don't interfere too much with the top left corner of the build, with the AIO being on the top. Which, by the way, we're putting the AIO on the top. The reason why I've been doing a lot of top mount AIOs is strictly because of gravity and air bubbles. I've had too much trouble with them being mounted in the front, and the only way I can guarantee that air bubbles are not going to get trapped in the AIO pump is by making sure gravity is doing its thing. You could try to keep the IO higher than where the pump is, but sometimes, like for example in this case, CPU is about here, top of the IO is going to be here, it's going to be pretty level, so we want to top mount it. Unless you have a significant loop, but you wouldn't do a open loop with this case, or you should, because if you're spending, you know, like $70 on a case and a couple $100 to $1,000 on a loop, you got your priorities wrong there, bud. Yeah, better cooling, but no space to work with it. It would be a pain. Very painful experience. Okay. So our motherboard will be here, the back of the computer here, and I think what we'll end up doing is I'll get this to rotate. That's probably going to be the closest we're going to get. That's pretty tight on the cables, on the lines here. Can we do it like that? Maybe we go this way. It just doesn't want to work. We'll see if that's going to fit. I'll have to play with it. I just want to look at it before we go any further, just so I can decide. I've just not done the Biuild one of these water coolers on this board in this case before, and I think we're going to have to definitely go this way. We could try to keep it as far forward as possible, and maybe go this way. That looks better. I think we could do that. I like that a lot better. Not as much stress on the lines. So we're going to go with that direction. Wish I could show you a little better of what I'm doing, but all I'm doing is putting screws into the IO here. Onto the bracket, which mounts to the case. Then we're going to flip it over and mount the fans. Not too exciting, but it's all part of the build. So again, remember, we're going to be doing this, this, or hopefully something like this, and or, geez, I hope that works. Having second thoughts. We'll find out. Might have to rotate it. I'm having second thoughts on this. I gotta set this in here and find out. I need to know if this is gonna work. Let's just pretend the motherboard is mounted. And then we're going to this guy. Oh yeah, it's gonna work fine. A little close to the video card, but we can just do that. It'll be fine. I like that a lot, actually. Very nice. Fits very nicely. I had a feeling it was gonna work. I just wanted to double check. Just wanted to check, you know. So we didn't have double the work. What are you woofing at? And that is going to be the front, or the glass. This is going to be the back. And fans are going to be pushing the air out. So we are mounted correctly here. We don't have to remount. It's going to be amazing. Might actually get something right. First time around. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I get it right all the time. Listen, sleepy and need a Coke. to throw in there. So we're going to shove these through the holes as we put it in there. And then that way we get it in there and it's not as difficult. We're not going to mount the CPU until we put the power supply in, because those cables are now going to be in the way of our 8-pin CPU connection. So I'm not, just to make it easier for me, I'm going to put the power supply in after I mount this and put the motherboard in. And yeah, I'm just not going to put this block or this pump on the CPU until I have the power supply 8-pin plugged in for the CPU. It's just going to make life a hell of a lot easier. There might be a few other things that I want to do as well, but that's like my number one concern right now. I'll look at it. We'll see. Yeah, we're going to stand it up. Just stand it up. The reason why I stood it up is so I can feed these cables through these holes a lot easier, instead of having to fight the back of the table as I'm trying to shove cables through a hole. Definitely is making my job a lot easier by having it stand up, stood up. Once again, the PWM fan is the one, or wire, it's the one giving me a trouble. There we are. So we've got it mounted, and there's only one screw for the top that just secures it, because all you got to do is make sure it doesn't shift forward to fall out. So as long as it can't move forward, it can't go anywhere, and that is the case in this case. Got one wire that's a little bit of a rebel, but we'll put them in this place. So there we are. So now I can lift that out of the way, but you can see there's not going to be a lot of, I mean, we should be able to manage that. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, but you know, just something to think about in the future. So I'm gonna actually get the board mounted after it's just one of those days. Need one of these guys in there. You build with so many different types of boards, you know. A lot of the higher end stuff already has this plate on the back of the board already, so you don't have to do this anymore, which is nice. So you don't forget it. Really will make sure you won't forget it. So these cables, I just have to make sure they're out of the way when I shove this thing in there. And then we look at the AO plate, make sure there's no cables there interfering with the connection. Also, ready for these screws from the case. Get the motherboard mounted. Yes. Mr. Max, what are you doing? So this MSI board is fitting very nicely with the scheme, I think. Yeah, RGB, RGB, RGB. Kind of gives you that like white, black, a little bit of gray hint on the board itself too. Has a nice look to it, even without any RGB lighting running in it. I think it would look very nice. Check myself. Alright. So that's that. Now, I'm going to get some RGB stuff plugged in the top and PWM hub for the fans. Those are the other fans. Can't see. When we get old, your eyes start to wear. When your eyes start to wear, you can't see as well. And then you need these things called lights, glasses, magnifying glasses. It's okay though. Not the end of the world. Alright, this is going to be our CPU PWM fan hub. Nice and neat. And then our addressable RGB. Also send that through the top. Not bending the crap out of the pins. Very bendable pins, by the way. There we are. Clean. Then the pump, we will try to run it through the top over to here, or maybe around. Let's just get this mounted. I'll deal with that 8-pin later. Yeah. I'll get it. Dealt with worse. Ooh, I just did that. Don't do what I just did. Now the deep cool thermal paste is pretty good, so I am going to use it. There's only a slight difference between that paste that's on here and the thermal grizzly paste I use. 3 or 4 degree difference isn't enough for me to change it. It was actually pretty surprising with the deep cool paste. Try not to get thermal paste everywhere. Yep, this glove shot. Alright. Gotta let my hand dry out a little bit before I put another glove on. So I should be able to send the pump through. Through here. And then have the pump pop back out right here to be plugged in. So it's around the back. Cable's nice and hidden, and it just looks clean. And this is the addressable RGB for the pump, and that is again going to run to the back. Same route that we just sent the pump, except it's not coming back to the front. It's staying in the back. Could get it to look neat by getting, there we go. Nice and neat. Beautiful. Nice and clean. And then what we can do is maybe rotate these up a little bit. Looks clean. Does. Alright. Let's get the RGB, the fan hub for the bottom, which is going to be for the front fans. System fan 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. System fan 1's here, but so we're going to go to 2 over here. Get it as close as possible to the actual next number. Running a wire from here out is kind of retarded, and in the software you want it to show up as system fan 1, or at least as relatively close as possible. I just don't want to run a wire down the middle of the motherboard. I don't know why, by the way, people, I don't know why motherboard manufacturers still put a fan header right here. I get because you could do that. Can we just move that fan header up there in that corner, and then you could just plug it in there and then run it out the back, and you don't have this ugly looking wire going across to get the system fan 1. So then it actually matches with the software, because you have CPU, you have pump, and then you have a blank system fan 1, and then you have system fan 2 that's actually doing something. System fan 1 is not. I don't know. Just curious as to why they decided to do it that way. Put it right there. Not the 80s anymore. I mean, it's not 2005 anymore, or 2008. You can move it. Please, please move it. I've seen it actually on some boards already. Some higher end boards, they'll have the header up the corner rather than in the middle of the board where it's just fugly and nobody ever uses it there, because putting wire, unless you have a fan here and you need it plugged in there. I mean, I get that, but you do the same thing by rotating the fan and plug it in over there. Or just move the cable. It'll reach. And still be hidden. It's all possible. There we go. We got these two plugged in at the bottom. is our front and rear fan PWM, and our RGB for the 3 fans here. Perfect. Now we get the motherboard connections plugged in for the front panel, or the front panel plugged into the motherboard. Front panel USB 3 plugged in, and with this Leon Lee 205 case, you'll have your HD audio and your front panel power connectors here. I'll pull this apart so that it can actually split off where it needs to go. And then I'm going to rotate the case very gently here down so I can grab it while I have a hold of them, and plug these bad boys in. Plugging in our front panel power LED. Pay attention to your manual. You have the plus and minus pin. Make sure you plug them in the right way. Then we have a power switch, which is directly to the right of the power LED on almost every single motherboard. But always reference your motherboard manual. And our HD audio labeled very nicely on this board so we can just see it without having to look at the manual. It's right there, very easy. Plug it in. You can only plug it in one way, it's got one pin, and that's plugged in, good to go. Still, nice and clean. Although I don't like how that cable's twisted. We'll have to play with it when we zip tie it. There we are. Let's get the 2 cards plugged in, which is our Wi-Fi and our video card. I'm going to do the Wi-Fi first, get that out of the way, because it does require a front panel USB port connection for the Bluetooth. This is a TP-Link Archer TX50E. It's running AX3000, but it's actually AX200. Intel AX200. So I think we're going to put that one on the bottom if we can. Looks like it'll fit. I just don't want it to interfere with the fans from the GPU. And I don't want it to interfere with the connections on the bottom there, if possible. And it's gone. Oops. Get this. I'm just so excited to see that card. I haven't seen the power color. Well, I've seen it, I haven't opened one and felt one. 6700 XT. Looks nice. There we go. Whatever. So here is the Radeon RX 6700 XT Power Color. Very basic looking, but sexy at the same time. I like it. There we are. It's been slotted. Bye. Nice. Beautiful gap. Looks nice in there. Alright, I guess the only things left is power supply and connections on the back with cable management. And we're good to go. Slide this over a little bit. Set this guy here. And I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go take a break. Hang tight. I'm gonna get this power supply and fired up. Then I gotta go to dinner. We're actually running out of time, so I might not do the cable management, but I'll get everything plugged in, put the back panel on, do the cable management later. But get it fired up so you guys see it all fired up and running. But I do have dinner plans tonight, and because that first build that kind of screwed us with the messed up case, kind of cut some time out of my stream, so or my schedule. So I'm gonna take a break real quick, and then I will be right back, and we'll get the power supply in there and fire it up. Okay, let's get this power supply in here and fire this bad boy up. I'm just going to put all these modular cables on the power supply. Even though it's a modular power supply, it just makes it easier for the person who's building and maybe upgrading in the future. One, you don't have to deal with taking the power supply back out, and because this case is a little bit tight down there. But two, all the cables are there. You don't have to worry about cables being missing and people getting frustrated because you had it in packaging and they may have thrown the packaging out. Happens actually quite a bit. Yeah. Just realized I forgot to put this filter on. I'm actually going to move the hard drive tray. You can slide it on the, or move the hard drive tray in this one, and it's slidable. You just have to loosen the screws up and slide it forward. I'm going to do that because this tray doesn't need to be here. So basically where it is when you get it, its default position is closer to the power supply, and I want a little bit more room. So, tip for this case, slide your hard drive tray forward, like I just did there. Just want to show you guys as much as I can. So this can actually slide forward. It gives you more space with the power supply here. So I do that almost every time I build these. Just gives you a lot more room, more space to work with down there with the power supply and any other extra cables. Slide this bad boy in. Hopefully these cables aren't too badly in the way. Oh, they are. They're very badly in the way. I'll have to pop that other We got it. We got it. There we go. Go. The fun part. Card takes two PCIe connections. One's 6-pin, one's 8-pin. We're gonna do two separate cables from the power supply in order to properly power this video card. Except I'm only going to be able to run one at a time here up through the slot, because it is still, even with that power split or that hard drive cage move, still a tight gap. But we are definitely going to get it to fit. As always. Alright. Get these out of the way so they don't get crushed. And flip this down. Alright, here we go. So we got one 4-pin connection for the video card. And then our 3-pin, or I'm sorry, 6-pin. got it, no problem. I don't even know why I was worried. Okay, it's looking a little scary back here, guys. I have a nice picture of my arm. So with wire management, you kind of have to map everything out, make sure the cables reach. You can't just say, I want everything to go right here and call it a day. Gotta make sure the cables go where they're gonna go. My goal is to try to get the 2 fans in the front and the 1 fan in the rear over here plugged in a central location so that they can reach the hubs that they need to reach without being totally strained. So, I think we're going to run these guys up this way. So we might have to run one of these. Kind of ugly looking, but we don't really have much of a choice here but to run it like that. Which is what I'm going to do. Go. Now we just got to tackle this mess. And this guy. RGB items here for this hub. So that's that. And we also have to find out where we're going to put this fan hub. I was thinking up here. On the way. For our CPU fan. And then for this guy, I don't know where to put him, but I mean, it's not a terrible spot. It's not going to reach down there where I would normally put all of them. And then we just need to sort these cables. Little Miss does not sound happy upstairs. Bulge is going to be a problem, but we'll work it out. Did a quickie. Nothing too super spectacular. But it'll get the job done. Little bastard popped out. Everything else looks good. How much you want to bet we'll get a post first go? So I feel like I'm that good. I'm also very confident. You know what really would have looked good in this build? Is some black and white cable extensions. That would have really made it pop. Would have made it exciting looking. Pop. Alright. So, we got power. Let's see what happens. We got a post. Had to go to the BIOS because it's saying, let me get a new CPU. So, going into the BIOS. And we're looking real good. Real good. Looks like gonna just have to get Windows loaded up and we're good to go. Y'all like it? Look good? Like I said, the white and black cable extensions really would have looked awesome in here. It would have added a little extra pop to it. But I mean, the black cables, the standard black cables with the power supply, don't look bad. It's just, you know, for 35 bucks, you can have some extra pop in there. Makes it just a little sexier. I think this light is actually not hot. There we go. That looks a little better. Might be the glass too. We can pull the glass off so you can see the whole beauty of it. Maybe. Or it might be the camera trying to focus on the light. I'm not sure. That's a little better. Now you can actually see the illumination of the RGB in there. But there we have it. We finished the build today, and I still managed to do the majority of the cable management in the back, even with the limited time that we had. I know I didn't get a lot of people following today's build. Definitely had a rough start. So I appreciate everybody that stuck with me and watched. Wasn't the most exciting build, that's for sure. But yeah, I'll keep trying to do these streams at least once a week for now. With the busy schedule, it's been difficult with the baby, difficult with all the orders, and you know, in a perfect world, I would literally stream every single build. Is just when I'm on stream, people ask questions, and it adds time to the stream. So I just want to make sure I dedicate enough time to answer those questions that are people that, you know, with people jumping on and asking questions. I just want to make sure I'm giving them enough time and not trying to rush them. So I'm just trying to make it a window of time that I'm expected to stream, and that I'm not just disregarding people's questions in the stream. But overall, I think this build turned out great. It's got some really good airflow off these fans. I can feel it even from way up here. I can just feel the airflow moving. It's very nice. So it's going to be a nice chill build with plenty of addressable RGB in here. It's going to look sexy and lots of upgrade options. You can add 2 more sticks of RAM. You can add M.2. You can add SATA storage if you need it. You got your USB 3.2 USB-C. If you have a front panel USB-C, you can always add it to this board. That's what's nice about these newer boards, is that they have those. Plenty of fan headers if for whatever reason you want to add more fans. Can't really do much with the radiator unless you put the fans on the outside of the case. 850 watt power supply, so you can pretty much put any graphics card in here if you want. Probably limited up to 3080 Ti. So anyway, guys, like it, subscribe, share. Let me know if you have any ideas for another stream. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you next time.